Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Shakes Rampedi here. There's a difference between an international player and a club player. Let's go.
That's how it goes?
They keep asking about the best when they know it's me.
Okay.
Asking about the rest when they know it's me.
Straight in, I guess.
You know it's me.
There's a difference between international players and club players. Did you guys see the game against Andorra? Bafana Bafana? 1-1. Disappointing. Players lack game intelligence. Rushing the play. You're just thinking I thought you guys are in training. You've been playing a lot of games. This is the point that you have to take your time with these opponents if they're going to sit back. But players got too excited. They saw the opportunity and they got too excited. They thought they were going to score hat-tricks. They thought they were Erling Haaland. They thought they were Kevin De Bruyne, Saka. Not even at all. Some shined, but very few when I say some shined. And a lot of them failed. It could have been an easy game, but the players just got too excited. And one thing about these players, I look at them and as the game was going on, do they realize that friendlies are going to be done after here? After here, it's AFCON qualifiers, it's World Cup qualifiers. We're no more playing friendlies, guys. So after here, the squads that Hugo Broos is going to pick are going to be serious squads. But you play Andorra with all that possession and you guys choose to do nothing. Just like that. Nothing. And I think Hugo did that on purpose. He did it on purpose. He put players in the deep end and he wanted them to sink or swim. And unfortunately for most of them, they did not swim at all. I think they're still drowning because they're not going to play against Algeria tonight. I guarantee you that. And let me tell you something. I love the fact that the standards at Bafana Bafana now. Now it's no more just players are just coming in there and now we're just going to just play. No. It's not pop and flays, guys. We've got standards. We just want a bronze. And if you can't compete at this level, then guys, go back. DSTV Premiership is waiting for you. It's waiting for you. You can go do your thing right there. But if you're going to come to the international standard, you're just going to have to improve your performances. Now you guys are probably saying, why don't you mention names? Why are you so coward? Why don't you mention names? I'm going to give them one more chance. It's Algeria tonight. Let's see if they play or not. I think majority of them are not going to play, and I think Hugo Broos is going to field his best squad. But some players were given the chance, man, and some of them just drowned. A football lover and somebody who interviewed some of the best in the business was also once a presenter on ETV's morning show. Obi knows. I asked him a simple question. Is Patrick Maswanganyi ready? Is he ready to replace Tim Maswanganyi?
Okay, guys, we have another football guest on Playing the Field with Shakes. I call him football because I think he's a football enthusiast, but he can speak on any sport, by the way. He's also the host of the sports show on the morning show on ETV. Obi knows is what they call him. I call him Moegoe. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Jake. How you doing?
Man, I'm all right, man. I wanted to know because people keep telling me about you, you watch so much sports. So I was like, you watch everything?
Jake, firstly, just to correct you firstly in the intro, I really appreciate the introduction there. But I'm currently away now from the morning show, so
I see.
People don't really get to touch this knowledge on the morning show anymore. But I do generally. I pay attention to a lot of sports. Maybe not much. I mean, I'm sure you know how difficult it is to keep up with all these sports that are taking place. But I do try to keep up with mostly football, rugby, cricket, and jump into basketball every now and then. So I'd like to say I've got my hands everywhere. And one of my current projects right now is horse racing. Which is something that I'm trying to sort of get the black community into, I mean, it's a nice sport, affluent and all of that. So I just want to bring it home so that we can all understand, what horse racing is all about.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's an interesting one. I mean, we from football, then we go into horse racing. I mean, this is what it is. That's for sure. I wanted to ask you, man, we played against Andorra very late at night. Some of us, we sort of feel like, hey, we stayed up for, I don't know what we stayed up for. How did you make of that performance, my man?
Shake, when I woke up, the first thing I saw was your video, and I think it was posted by 5-6 hours before, so I could see that, man, this man really sat there and watched this whole game. And I'll be honest with you, Shakes, I was only on Friday. It was only on Friday evening.
Yeah.
When I sat down and watched the game, the rerun of the game.
Yeah.
Because I stayed up until it was 11 p.m. It was 11 p.m. And the first thing that my eyes, saw was the error from Ricardo Horst.
Yeah.
And immediately after that, I was like, you know what? I don't think this was, fully worth my time. So let me, rest. If we're analyzing it from a football point of view, especially this game, we could say that we look at the fact that, Hugo Broos started with a completely unfamiliar lineup, giving a lot of, French players in the national team a chance, which is obviously something we do want to see, but if I'm putting on that, that fan hat, I'm looking at the fact that, we're a national team that has really disappointed over the years, if we're being honest. And at the point where we're getting things right, I think even with a friendly game like against Andorra, we should still be, performing at a level where, we're able to get a win, because people wake up in the morning and they see a 1-1 against Andorra, they have more questions than they would if they saw a 2-1 win to South Africa against Andorra.
Yeah, no, 100%. I actually think when I look back at the game, I think Hugo Broos did that intentionally. I think he did it intentionally in terms of trying to see who can sort of shine a light and stuff. Because after these friendlies, it's only going to be like AFCON qualifiers and World Cup qualifiers. Now,
you know what?
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that. Sorry to cut you there. But you did raise a great point that this is the only 2 games we have before we play the qualifiers, right? But if we were to put this in a European context, most of the friendly games that they have, only now we've seen England play friendly against Brazil. We've seen a bit of the friendly games taking place right now because the Euros is the next international break is the Euros.
Yeah.
But my thing is, European teams leading up to these competitions, whether it's the Euros or the World Cups, for example, you can actually go now and take a look at Portugal, how they led up to the World Cup. You look at the fact that they played so many UEFA Nations League games, which for me, it's a bit more of a friendly game. Yes, it is. But at the same time, they made it competitive. They added a trophy, they added incentives for their European teams to play at a competitive level at a frequent basis. So I think that's something that CAF needs to look at. I try to weigh and look at maybe I'm missing something. I looked at the CHAN, and when we go to the CHAN, we don't send out the same players that we would send out for a normal friendly game. You know what I mean? So my point here is very simple, that European teams have a bit of an advantage over African teams, and it's about time the CAF try to overstep that little thing, because it's going to hinder us from having another Morocco situation in 2026.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We do need more competitive games, and also what kind of hits home is the fact that the CHAN, usually whenever that's being played, those qualifiers, they're not within the FIFA calendar, so teams can be like, I don't want my star player to go and play there. Whereas maybe it would be a huge boost in terms of Bafana's future going forward. But now it brought me to this question, working, is the fact that, is there a difference between a club player and an international player, man? Because I look back at that game and I'm thinking, we had so much possession, of course. I just think it needed us to be a little bit more patient. And I'm just thinking, were there players that did not grab the opportunity? And it's almost a thing of, is there a difference between a club player and an international player?
I definitely think so. And there is a big difference. And I think what gives you that thing is the AFCON, for example.
Yeah.
This AFCON that we saw this year was, one of, I don't know, maybe I've not watched football enough, but from 2006 right up until now, paid attention to the AFCON, but this was definitely the best one we've seen yet by far, right?
Yeah.
But if this AFCON had to be moved into a period where, it doesn't clash with, the international schedule, I think we see more, what we saw in Ivory Coast on a frequent basis. We see it more often, because we do have the quality in players as an African continent. We do have a lot of, star players that shine. But, for example, Mohamed Salah came for Egypt, but he barely made a presence in this competition, And that speaks to your question of, is there an international player? Is there, a club player? Let's be honest. If your club is paying you, whatever, 200K a week or whatever the prices are for Mohamed Salah and all these players.
Yeah.
If a club is doing that much, you sort of want to protect yourself, in terms of injuries, energy levels as well, for when you return, to where you usually make your bread. And it's unfortunate that it's the example that I need to use, because it's really what is happening. Players would rather decide to show up more for their club, because of course, it's more incentive for them playing for their club, unlike playing for your country.
No, 100%. And now, obviously, the big question has been going around. The player started against Andorra. I'm not sure if he had the best of games, but of course, his quality has been shown at club football and all that. Patrick Maswanganyi, is he ready to take over from Themba Zwane, in Obi Knows' opinion?
Firstly, Obi Knows is a huge fan of Themba Zwane. And hey guys, I love Themba Zwane, but it's like, I think it's not, I didn't say it enough on public platforms.
Yeah.
But the people who hang around me know for a fact that when Themba Zwane touches the ball, and I'm not a Sundowns fan, by the way, I'm not a Sundowns fan, far from that.
Yeah.
But Themba Zwane is one of those players, one of a kind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in terms of Patrick Maswanganyi, I went to a lot of Orlando Pirates games this season, and I must say, from the first game, it's been impressive, to say the least. It's been very impressive. Is he ready to replace Themba Zwane? I don't think so as yet. Simply because we didn't really see him playing around, the usual, Bafana Bafana setup, so he still needs to work his way into that. He still needs to work his way into understanding, the way Sundowns plays, not Sundowns, Bafana Bafana plays.
Yeah.
And eventually he'll get a hold of it. But I don't think he's too far from it. I just don't think we should put that pressure on him as yet. But the more he's in this national team set up, looking at the fact that we've got the Nigeria coming up and the rest of the qualifiers coming up, he needs to be part of that setup. He needs to be part of that setup to be able to form part of what is currently happening with Hugo Bruce's squad. So I do see it as a possibility. He can do it. But as for is he really right now, I think we just might be throwing in too much responsibility at an early stage.
I see. That's a fair comment as well. I think obviously with time, because it's almost like he was no club and then was super sport, and then all of a sudden he finds himself at the Orlando Pirates, and then suddenly it's like, oh wait, are you ready to replace Themba Zwane? All these things are sort of being thrust so quickly onto him. But I must say this as well, man. We also have a strikers conundrum as well that's going on. Obviously, Mahopa is the guy that is being trusted as the number one for sure. But we saw Mayo. We've seen Reyners, who came on for a couple of minutes. I'm sure he's going to play. I would hope he might play more against Algeria. We'll have to see. Who should be the understudy for Mahopa? I mean, is it Mayo? Is it Reyners? Is it Lapasa? Because it keeps changing. What would you say?
Yeah, it's a very good question. That's a very good question, Shane. Because leading up to AFCON, I think even maybe I'd be stretching it, but the month before AFCON, it was undecided as who would lead that front line as Lau Foster out.
Yeah.
So evidence Mahopa wasn't having a great start to the season at Pirates. He wasn't scoring goals. And eventually, of course, he was going back to his main guy. Because if you do remember, Mahopa played against Uganda when Hugo Bruce started coaching the national team.
Yeah.
So it's someone that he trusts and sort of understands what Hugo Bruce wants out of him as a number 9. But I do think that there's a big competition for him at his own club. I think with the return of Bafana Bafana, and I've actually been saying this for a very long time. I can even provide some screenshots, my brother. I've been saying this for years. That Bafana Bafana, from his Blue and Celtic days, for me, he's been one of the best strikers in terms of getting himself into the right positions, in terms of his finishing skill set as well. I think he's got a lot to give. Unfortunately, the injuries, don't really help him. He's about 27 years of age now, so it's close to that 30 mark. But I do think that, if he can continue to show up for Orlando Pirates, not only in the Nedbank Cup games like he has, he needs to show up more in the PSL games. I do think that we've got something in Bafana Bafana. But saying that at the same time, Ikram Reyners, for me, I feel like he works a little bit better when he comes off the flanks, and that is completely different from what Mahopa gives you.
Yeah.
He comes a little bit from the flanks, and he wants to go central. I think it'll give you a bit more of what the Bafana gives you, which is running in behind the defenders.
Now, that's very interesting, man. You mentioned Mawasa, which I also do think Mawasa is very, very underrated as well. You've spoken about Reyners. You've also mentioned Lau Foster as well. I think at some point he's going to probably have to be roped back in at some point with all the qualifiers that are coming in as well. But one player you did not necessarily talk about was Khanyisa Mayo. Do you think he's not ready for that mental?
I think it comes back to that: is there an international player? Is there a club player? And I think for now, and look, this is not me looking down on what Khanyisa Mayo is able to do. I think he's been doing a brilliant job for the past 2 seasons at Cape Town City. He's actually become more of a goal scorer than I thought he would. I think the team now really depends on him getting the goals. And you see it, he's got the confidence. He's got the confidence when he walks out on the pitch, and he wants to give that extra push, But for a number 9 at Bafana Bafana, I think, oh man, he's a bit too mobile, he's a bit too lean in terms of, body structure. I think for what Hugo Bruce wants, Hugo Bruce definitely wants a target man up front. And looking at the formation that he started with against Andorra, that is really what he wants. He wants a target man up front. And with Khanyisa Mayo not really fulfilling that role, I think you might need to try and put him in other roles, because he can't play anywhere in the front three position. Whether you put him on the left, on the right, or you could even try and put him in behind the strikers, the main striker.
The last question that I have, there's no wrong answer to this one. You answered the way that you'd like, man. Where is South African football for you right now, Obi?
Oh, man, I think this... it's a touching question for me, that one.
That's why I asked it.
I think we're on the right direction. And one thing that we as fans always overlook is how young of a league we are. We're still quite young. As a league, as a football federation, we're still quite young. And we are building into the right direction with hindrance from, outside of the pitch sets, things that are happening in the boardrooms, the development of players being a bit of a stuttering thing. We recently just saw what happened in School of Excellence needing to be, revamped, those type of things. Those are problems. Those are serious problems that we need to look at, because we've said this a lot of times. And this might be very debatable, amongst most especially Kaizer Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
But the progress that we saw with Akazwane, for example, the progress that I'm talking about is the youngsters being used.
Yeah.
The use of youngsters in that team. It gave you a feeling of, yes, we might not be winning as Kaizer Chiefs right now, but we've got these youngsters and we are seeing there's something that we can build towards these players.
Yeah.
And I think we're missing that entirely, in South African football. There are a few teams that are doing quite well with it. Stellenbosch, being a good example of that, using their young players who are coming through the youth ranks, and forming part of a fully-fledged, squad that plays in the league. And they are winning trophies already, So I think we need to invest more in the youngsters.
Nah, man, I love it, man. Obi, you know your thing. That's why they call you Obi Knows. Just want to say thank you for being a guest, man. Ever since I've met you and spoken to you, man, you're really one of the good guys within sport, man. And I just want to wish you all the best. Keep progressing all the time.
Man, I thank you so much, Shakes. Thank you for the time that you've given me. Thank you for calling me out. And yeah, man, let's do it sometime soon.
Now, 100%. Keep well, yeah?
Thank you, Shakes. Easy.
Cheers, man.
Sure.
Who was up to par and who became our star? But also, who fell short in this game we all love? Let's find out on Moegoe of the Week.
Okay, so for this segment, guys, I will give you 2 names. I'll give you 2 names. One is a star and one is a Moegoe, right? So the star, Elias Mokoana. Beautiful goal that he scored against Andorra. Played really well. Ball was always going to him. I think he could play tonight without a shadow of a doubt. And as for Moegoe of the Week, Ricardo Goss, where you at? You can't be making such errors at this level, my man. No. Especially when you don't even get the chance to play. You're the B-choice goalkeeper for Bafana Bafana and you decide to go do that? I know you definitely not playing tonight. Moegoe of the Week.
It's time for Bet of the Week. Get ready to win big by placing the right bets on the right games.
Me, guys, I'm telling you, I am done with international football. I am not putting international football on my bet slip. These international friendlies are going all over the place. I mean, Colombia beats Spain, Bafana draws with Andorra. I mean, you can't even predict it. So my bet slip only has club football that's coming this weekend. Let's start it off. Leverkusen going up against Hoffenheim. I've gone Leverkusen straight win. Chelsea at home against Burnley over 2.5. Spurs against Luton over 2.5 goals. Bayern against Dortmund. Yes, Bayern a draw and over 2.5 goals. We got Barca going up against Las Palmas. I've gone Barcelona straight win. Liverpool at home against Brighton. Liverpool obvious. The odds are really good on that one. And the last one, Manchester City against Arsenal. Draw over 1.5 and City win. So it's City to win or draw the game and over 1.5 goals. My odds are over 9 odds, close to 10. So you could make close to 10 times your money back. But you have to bet with me. Click on the link below.
Remember to practice responsible betting at betway.co.za.
Good people, it's time that we start preparing for Bafana Bafana against Algeria at 11 p.m. Before you do go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified for future episodes.